So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. And in this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper in a very short span of time within 20 minutes so that your time doesn't get wasted and side by side you cover your current affairs for the entire day. Now, today is July 19th, 2024, and the important topics from today's newspaper are as following. Now, today's topics are four in number and they're very important. So, please pay close attention in this lecture. Okay, so what are today's topics? First of all, there was this article related to Mashko Piro tribe. It is an uncontacted tribe, and recently the first ever photos of this tribe has been released. Someone photographed this tribe. It is an uncontacted tribe, and it was released, and it created a huge, what do you call it, interest, right? So uncontacted tribes became a part of the news, and that is why we are going to study what uncontacted tribes are. What is Mashko Piro tribe? All right. Now, second topic would be, and you must have heard about this, student protests in Bangladesh. Recently, Indian High Commissioner released an advisory to all the Indians traveling to Bangladesh that they should delay their travels to Bangladesh because security situation is not good. Students are protesting in Bangladesh because of certain decisions of Bangladesh government, and those protests have turned violent. So security situation is not good. Now, what are these student protests all about? What is the security situation in Bangladesh? We'll talk about this. Then, recently, various climate researchers have said that we expected La Nina to come in July. But now new data has arrived and it says that La Nina might arrive in September. Okay, there will be delay in the onset of La Nina. And why are we studying La Nina? Because El Nino and La Nina have a lot of impact on Indian monsoons. El Nino El Nino causes deficiency in Indian monsoons, rainfall is less, and La Nina increases rainfall. All right. Now, people were expecting July to be the month of La Nina. Because of that, people expected that Indian rainfall is going to be great this time, but that is not the case. So, we'll study La Nina, we'll study El Nino, we'll also study their impact on Indian monsoons. And in the end, there was this article in the Indian Express Explained page, on the Indian Express Explained page, related to green revolution in maize crop. So we'll study that. All right. So without much delay, let's start with topic number one, and that is uncontacted tribe of Mashko Piro. This is the international photograph. This is the photograph, first ever photograph of Mashko Piro tribe that has created a lot of interest, generated a lot of interest worldwide. Okay. So let's take a look at the news first. Indigenous rights NGO Survival International has released rare pictures of Mashko Piro tribes people, one of the world's 100 odd uncontacted tribes. Now, there are various tribes all over the world, and these tribes have no contact with the outside world. They are known as uncontacted tribes. Now, we know about them. Maybe they don't know about us, but we know about them, but we are deliberately not keeping any contact with them. The reason might be that these people have evolved in a particular way, and we might have certain viruses or bacteria that we might give to them, and these guys have not yet developed immunity for this. Or maybe these guys have some bacteria or viruses for which they have developed immunity, but we don't. So they might transfer to us any virus or bacteria which might become a pandemic. And there are other reasons as well. We want to preserve their culture also. Not just culture, their everything. So deliberately, governments do not make any contact. They leave them as they are. Okay. Now, all over the world, there are 100 such uncontacted tribes. They live in they have a very primitive lifestyle. They live in their own world and no contact with the outside world. Okay. Almost all of the uncontacted tribes live in the jungles of Amazon or Southeast Asia. Plus, there is one uncontacted tribe in India as well, in India's Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and that is Sentinelese. We have kept them untouched. Okay, Andaman and Nicobar Sentinelese tribe is one of the uncontacted tribes. So remember, uncontacted tribes are those which are kept isolated. Now let's talk about this particular uncontacted tribe called the Mashko Piro tribe or Mashko Piro tribe. All right, let's gather a bit more information about them. So these tribes or this particular tribe lives a primitive lifestyle. They are nomadic, they are hunter gatherers, and they live in Amazon jungles. And the region in which they reside is known as Madre de Dios region. It lies in Peru in South America, along with the border of Brazil and Bolivia. Now their population is very little. It is 750 only. But uncontacted tribes don't are not that populous. They don't have that much population. So with the number of 750, they might be the largest uncontacted tribe so far. Okay. Now Peru's government has mandated that no one shall make any contact with Mashko Piro. Okay. Now, in 2002, Peru government created Madre de Dios Territorial Reserve to protect the territory of Mashko Piro. All right, that's about it. Just know what uncontacted tribes are, which is India's uncontacted tribe, and this famous or maybe the largest uncontacted tribe of South America and probably the world, Mashko Piro. All right. Now let's move on to second news item, which is student protests in Bangladesh. Now you might have heard about this news, but let's get a brief overview. Okay. Bangladesh announced it will indefinitely shut down all public and private universities from Wednesday, July 17th. After massive countrywide protests against a controversial quota system in government jobs have left at least 6 dead and over 400 injured. So it started as a normal student protest, but it has become violent and quite violent. Therefore, Bangladesh government has declared, not formally, but a sort of emergency. Even Indian High Commission has issued an advisory asking Indians to avoid traveling to Bangladesh because the security situation in Bangladesh is not safe. All right. Now, what is the cause behind the student protest? Okay, there are two major causes. Okay, first, protests erupted in the wake of June 5th ruling by Bangladesh High Court reinstating the 30% quota for freedom fighters and their descendants in government jobs. Okay, this quota was not there, or this quota was there, but it was repealed in 2018. But Bangladesh High Court reinstated this quota. Adding fuel to fire, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called protesters Razakars. Now, Razakars is a derogatory term used for traitors in Bangladesh. Okay, so students have become more agitated because Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has used this term for them. All right, now what is the issue? Look, every year there are 3,000 government jobs in Bangladesh. Okay, every year. But for these 3,000 government jobs, 4 lakh Bangladeshis apply. All right. Now, within these government jobs, there is reservation, there is a system of reservation, and the reservations go up to 56%. There is no Indira Sahni case in Bangladesh. There is no 50% ceiling in Bangladesh. So, reservations in total go up to 56%. Of this 56%, there is 30% reservation for those people who fought against the Pakistan army in the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. Freedom fighters, they are called freedom fighters, or their descendants, their children, their grandkids, right? So if your father or your grandfather fought against Pakistanis in 1971 in the Bangladesh Liberation War, well, there is reservation for you up to 30%. Then there is 10% reservation for women, 10% for ethnic minorities, 5% for poverty basis underdeveloped region, 1% for disabled people. So in total, there is 56% reservation. Now, in 2018, students protested a lot. As you guys know, reservation is a contentious issue. Many people say that reservation should not be there. Same was the case in Bangladesh, and many students protested against this in 2018. And they built up a lot of pressure against the then government, which was also run by Sheikh Hasina. So, in that pressure, in 2018, this quota was repealed. But in 2024, June 5th, 2024, Bangladesh High Court reinstated that quota. Now, generally, it is said that the ruling party, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League, actually fought in the Bangladesh Liberation War. So, therefore, those who fought against the Pakistanis in the Bangladesh Liberation War or their kids are closer to Awami League. And giving reservation to them is kind of a partisan move, right? So, many are protesting. Plus, most of the students are protesting that we should cut down this reservation. It's a lot of reservation, 30%. So, we should cut down on it. But the Bangladesh government, but in this case, especially Bangladesh High Court did not. Students started protesting, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called these protesters Razakars. Now, who are Razakars? Why is this such a derogatory term? You see, before 1971, Pakistan or Bangladesh was East Pakistan. Bangladesh was part of Pakistan. But in late 1960s, separatist movement started in Bangladesh. They wanted to get break away from Pakistan. Therefore, Pakistan army conducted a brutal crackdown where thousands of students were killed, thousands of women were raped, right? They conducted a brutal crackdown. And Pakistan army actually created a paramilitary force paramilitary force of those Bangladeshis who sided with Pakistan. So there were some Bangladeshis who wanted to side with Pakistan. So Pakistan Army actually created a paramilitary force of these volunteers who loved Pakistan. Basically, they wanted Pakistan to rule, and this paramilitary force was known as Razakars. And Razakars actually were the most brutal of them all. They were more brutal than even Pakistan Army. So therefore, since 1971, since Bangladesh got independence, Razakars are treated as traitors. And using this term for student protesters actually hit a nerve and they got more pissed. All right. So that is the basic reason. Okay. All right. That's about it. Now let's move on to third news item, which is late emergence of La Nina. Now, multiple global weather models have forecasted a delayed emergence of La Nina. While earlier they expected La Nina onset around July, the latest data show that it will develop during September or later. Now, the climate pattern known to favor rainfall during the monsoon season in India is one of the three phases of El Nino Southern Oscillation. So, there is this phenomena in the equatorial Pacific Ocean known as Southern, El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO. Okay, it has three phases. One is El Nino, the other is La Nina, and there is this neutral phase. Okay, neutral phase. Now, El Nino is bad for Indian monsoons. La Nina is good for Indian monsoon. And neutral is okay for Indian monsoon. Now, this year, IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, actually predicted that Indian monsoon is going to be good. Because they also expected that La Nina will set in July. And India's monsoon season is from June to September. Right? So La Nina is going to be in July. Therefore, IMD predicted India's monsoon is going to be very good. Okay, they even predicted that it is going to be 106% of the long-term average of rainfall in the monsoon season. All right, but now scientists are saying that La Nina would come in September. That would be the last month of Indian monsoon. So many people are fearing that this time monsoon is not going to be that good because La Nina is a little late this time. All right. So this is the whole situation. This is the entire thing in brief. All right. Now let's take a deeper look at ENSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation. So basically, what is El Nino Southern Oscillation? So as you can see, the eastern equatorial part of Pacific Ocean, this part, faces El Nino Southern Oscillation. Now, El Nino Southern Oscillation is a climate phenomena characterized by changes in sea temperatures along the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. All right. What happens is that at times this water, this surface water at eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean becomes warm. That is known as El Nino. It becomes cool. It is known as La Nina. And at times it is normal. That is known as the neutral phase. So El Nino Southern Oscillation has three phases. El Nino, which is warm water starts appearing. La Nina, that means cold water starts appearing. And neutral phase. The cycle, all the three phases collectively last for about 2 to 7 years. All right. Now you might be thinking that how can this something happening near South America can impact Asia or Indian monsoon? Well, it does. El Nino Southern Oscillation can alter and interfere with the global atmospheric circulation all over the world. It affects the weather all over the world, and Indian monsoon is no different. All right. So remember, El Nino, bad monsoon, La Nina, good monsoon, neutral, normal. Now, people were expecting La Nina to develop in July, but it is being developed in September. And therefore, many are forecasting that Indian monsoon is not going to be as strong as IMD predicted. All right. But if you ask IMD experts, they say monsoon is going to be normal and good this year. La Nina or the delay in setting of La Nina won't cause any changes in the amount of rainfall being received by the Indian subcontinent. What is the current situation? The latest El Nino event prevailed between June 2023 to May 2024. So El Nino, which is bad monsoon, prevailed between June last year to May this year. Whereas La Nina conditions lasted 3 consecutive years before that. So from 2020 to 23, it was good for Indian monsoon. Now people expected that till May El Nino is going to be there. Then in June, neutral conditions would set in. And then from July, La Nina would come in. But they're saying that La Nina, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of USA is saying La Nina would come in September this year, between August to October. All right, that's about it. And our last news item, Green Revolution in maize. Now, what is in the news? Basically, it is just because an article was published by someone, some agricultural expert in Indian Express newspaper. So we are covering this. Now, what was Green Revolution? Green Revolution happened in 1960s, and we created high-yielding varieties of rice and wheat, and yield of rice and wheat increased. India became self-sufficient in food grain production, right? This was because of high-yielding variety of seeds made by Mexico-based International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center and Indian Agricultural Research Institute. Now, father of Green Revolution in the entire world is Norman Borlaug, and father of Green Revolution in India was M.S. Swaminathan. But Green Revolution basically focused on wheat and rice. But for the past couple of decades, we are actually witnessing a sort of green revolution in maize, corn. All right? And this is without any specific program of the government. In fact, between 1999 to 2000 to 2023-24, maize output has tripled. And its per hectare yield has also risen from 1.8 ton to 3.3 ton. So, maize output has increased. It is kind of a silent revolution that has gone about and it has yielded results. Now, why is maize important? Does maize solve the problem of food security? Or maize has other usages as well? So let's take a look at the usages of maize. Where is maize used? Look, maize is used for food. Not much. Okay, only 20% of maize is used for direct human consumption. 60% of maize is used as feed for cattle, livestock, and poultry. So, majority of maize is used as feed for animal rearing. Plus 14 to 15% maize is used for industrial purposes. You see, maize contains 70% starch. 70% of maize is starch. And starch has various applications in textile industry, paper industry, pharmaceutical industry, food industry, and beverage. And by beverage, we mean alcohol. Alcohol is made from starch. Actually, starch is fermented using yeast. And fermentation of starch creates alcohol. So corn or maize is used for that purpose. But recently, maize has found another usage. You see, there is a form of alcohol that we all consume, okay, that is used as a beverage. It is known as ethanol. And recently, government has come out with an ethanol blending program in which petrol will be blended with 20% ethanol. This would reduce our petrol consumption and greenhouse gases emission, right? So there is requirement of ethanol for blending with petrol for usage in vehicles. And people are using maize for creating that alcohol. More recent is maize emerging as a feedstock for ethanol that is used for blending with petrol. So demand for maize has increased, not because people have started consuming maize, but because of its usage for production of alcohol. All right. Now, government knows that demand for maize has increased because of ethanol blending for beverage sector, for pharmaceutical, paper, feedstock, and all that stuff, right? Therefore, Indian Agricultural Research Institute has created new form of seeds, new high-yielding variety. You know, there was green revolution in our country because high-yielding variety of wheat and rice were produced, right? So now Indian Agricultural Research Institute have created high-yielding varieties of maize because demand for maize has risen. Hence, we are saying green revolution in maize because new seeds have been created. Now, what is this recent innovation? Indian Agricultural Research Institute has bred India's first waxy maize hybrid with high amylopectin starch content, making it better suited for ethanol production. Because India knows that maize is mostly being used to produce ethanol, alcohol. That is why IARI has produced a specific variety, specific seed for maize that will produce ethanol. All right. The name of this variety is AQWH4. Now, why this particular variety is good for producing ethanol? You see, normal maize has 70% starch, right? And this starch is actually made of two things, two polymers. One is amylose, the other is amylopectin. Now, amylose provides hardness to the maize grain. Amylopectin provides softness. But you see, 30% is amylose, 70% is amylopectin. All right. But if your maize contains more amylopectin, then there are chances that your yield from maize for ethanol would increase, because amylopectin is very important for ethanol production. So IARI have created a specific variety of maize that contains up to 90% of amylopectin. Generally, normal maize contains 70%. IARI created 90% of amylopectin. That's why yield for from maize for alcohol has increased. All right. So this is sort of a green revolution of sorts, because India has created a new seed variety for more ethanol production from maize. Right? Because demand for maize, especially for ethanol, has increased. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it is adding value to your preparation, but the condition is that you have to be consistent and regular with this. All right. On that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.